President on the committee, Mr. Marshall, Mr. Silver, myself as chairman, other members president and administration, Mr. Fowler. The first item on the agenda is the resolution confirming the appointment of Byron Salazar to the Alexandria Port Authority Board, book item number 9. At this time, I would like for Mr. Salazar to come forward and have a seat before the committee. Yeah, you can maybe pull that chair. First, Mr. Salazar, I would like for you to tell the council, the committee, and the administration who you are.
Sure. And I'm going to apologize at first because I'm kind of battling a sore throat, but so I'll try to talk up. But my name is Brian Salazar. I'm a native of Louisiana. I've lived in Alexandria for the last 10 plus years. And professionally, I'm Executive Vice President and Chief Lending Officer at Red River Bank, which is a community bank that was started here in Alexandria approximately 8 years ago. And that's...
What do you feel best qualifies you to be a member of the Port Authority?
I'm interested in contributing to the Port Authority, I think, because it goes hand in hand with what I do every day. I'm very involved with working with small businesses, medium-sized businesses, even some large businesses in Alexandria. It's what I do every day, helping them to expand their businesses, create jobs, bring new opportunities to the city, and I think that I can make a positive contribution with the perspective that I would bring to the Port Authority from that standpoint. So I think, you know, a strong business background and pretty good knowledge and familiarity with the industries that are located in Central Louisiana and what their needs are, and you know, helping them to achieve those needs, and just in general contributing to the health of the economy, the growth of the economy, particularly small business. So,
do you feel you'll be committed and dedicated to the Port Authority?
I do. I don't take any responsibility such as this lightly. I think I'm involved with some other organizations, some nonprofits. My attendance and commitment to the things that I'm committed to, I think if you asked anyone that's involved, is very good. The type of person that if I'm going to commit to something, I'm going to commit to it 100%, and if I'm not able to, then you know, I'm really not going to even try it in the first place. So.
And my last question, before I open up question to the committee, do you feel that all decisions that you make with the Port Authority, with the City of Alexandria, Rapides Parish, that you feel you'll be fair and impartial?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Any other questions to come from the Personnel Committee?
You don't wear saggy pants, do you?
I tried to hike them up today.
I think you'd be a welcome addition to the Board Authority. I think it'd be a great asset for the port. So I thank you for considering it and offering to take it.
And we appreciate you coming forward with your recommendation to this committee. And I would like to have a motion to second for its confirmation to the Port Authority. Move to second. Then Mr. Byron Salazar become a member of the Port Authority with the recommendation to go for a full council. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Item number 2 on the agenda is to hear an update from Civil Service and Human Resources concerning hiring. At this time, can I have members of the administration to come forward, from Civil Service and Personnel? That's been a growing concern, I guess, in all cases of where we are since we started this transition back in March of 2006 while we are support hiring in the city of Alexandria. At this point, where do we stand with that transition between human resources and civil service?
Okay, as requested, Mr. Chairman, we're here to try to give you an update on the hiring process. Our last report to you was in December of 2006, where we tried to clarify where we stood in terms of the separation of duties and responsibilities between civil service and the human resources division, which we are currently operating under. First, for clarity, so that you will understand the process that we're following now, the advertising, recruiting, and certification of applicants is a civil service function. That has to be done first before human resources can begin to do their work. And human resources assume responsibility for the interviewing process. We compile the interview scores, and we submit those qualified candidates to the mayor's office for selection. Once a selection is made, then it's then human resources' responsibility to get those persons onboarded by way of orientation of new employees, the establishment of their personnel records and their medical records, and we maintain those files. That's a very brief overview of how we function now. In my last report to you, I highlighted 5 recommendations that I thought would help us improve the hiring process. Those recommendations and an update on where we are now were considering advertising for positions for 7 days instead of the 15 days. You may recall that that was an effort to cut down the time it takes for us to process that whole thing. That recommendation has been implemented, and it seems to be working well for us. We also highlighted the idea of identifying priority positions for the city, and those positions would be filled first. In other words, we would take a look at positions that we get requirements from most often, look at those as critical positions, and then fill those positions first. We have not been able to implement that recommendation fully yet. The other one was to develop a plan that would flag requisition for employment after 2 weeks of inactivity. In other words, when a requisition is initiated by the department, then it comes forward and goes through the normal process. If we see that requisition laying dormant for more than 2 weeks, we want to have a system in place where it would be triggered and we would find out what was the holdup on that requisition. We have a number of reports that we get every week that help us do that, but it is not fully implemented at this time. We need to further fine-tune that position. The other recommendation was that we would conduct background checks and driver's license checks after the applicant passed the required test. Now, this is a civil service function. And I think that that has been implemented. Ms. Siraj can probably speak to that in more detail than I can. And the other recommendation is that we require all signatures on new requisitions before they are forwarded to civil service and human resources. That has been implemented. Under the old system, the requisition would float around for a while without the required signatures, and we'd have to go back and waste time trying to get all the necessary signatures before we move forward on it. I receive every week on my desk a report from my personnel analyst that tracks the activity of open personnel requisitions. And it tracks it by date that the requisition was initiated, the position that is for, the department, the requisition number, and it also tells me the date that this requisition has been received from civil service You may recall now, I said civil service must first certify these applicants before we receive them. But once that's done, they forward them to us, so I track from that date until the date that we complete that operation and then have these folks into an orientation to become new employees. The average time over the last 6 months, and we've been tracking this data, it takes human resources approximately 3.5 weeks to process it once we receive it from civil service into a time that we can complete the package and put these folks to work.
Mr. Page, not to interrupt you, but based on that statement, what you just said, what generally causes a delay in the hiring process between the human resources and civil service as you go through that process?
That can be any number of reasons. Some that I've seen recently, that we've had folks to reject the offer of employment. We've had some difficulty in finding qualified applicants for the position. So we go out and have to re-advertise. Sometimes we don't have enough applicants. We have a pool of people out there and we wind up taking them through the qualifying process and we don't have one applicant to qualify. And so we can request to expand the list. All of those will cause some delay in the process.
Mr. Johnson, if
Mr.
I
Ross.
can expound on that, because that is actually civil service, not human resources. So I can address that later after he finishes his report.
Okay, would you like to address that now?
Oh,
while
yeah,
he's on
I'd be
it?
glad to. I have to make some corrections to what Mr. Page has said. The advertising process, we expanded it for 15 days, giving us time to get out in publications, get in various newspapers, and get out on the web, allowing people time to respond to our ads. In our research, trying to get better qualified, better pool of applicants. We still do some of them 7 days inside, but most of them, when we're going outside, we're doing them for anywhere 10 to 15 days, depending on the type of job that we're recruiting for. If it's a professional and we're advertising it in a magazine or a publication, we're having to allow adequate time for it to be in the magazine and for people to respond.
And with that said, why do we have such a problem finding those qualified people to fill
Well,
those
there's
positions?
several reasons. Right now, we have 22 of our current advertised jobs that require a driver's license, a commercial driver's license. And right now, we are competing down with New Orleans, Lafayette, even the local public and private sector employers trying to get CDL drivers. We have 4 that we're currently advertising that require a bachelor's degree, and those happen to be engineering degrees, and engineering positions are very difficult to find. We're competing with the local engineering firms for those. 30 of our jobs that we're currently advertising require technical skills, and those are jobs that require plumbing or electrical or mechanical inspectors. And those are jobs that right now our base pay is lower than what the private sector is
Now,
on.
with that said, what about, if you have one of the biggest turnover rates, areas that we see in the city that we're highly concerned about is in the sanitation department and meter readers because
Yes.
it affects the utility.
Hold on a second. I thought we were going to be addressing that. I did a little report. I went back to January 2006, and customer services for meter readers alone. We had 17 meter readers that we hired January 2006. We had 6 of those that resigned, we had 5 that were removed, and we had 3 that transferred to another department. That's a big turnover in a department. Sanitation, 18 employees were hired since January 2006. 12 of those resigned, 1 terminated, 2 retired, and 1 transferred to another department. Zoo is another one that if you're wanting to look at someone else that's got a high turnover. We had 20 hired since January 2006, 16 resigned, 3 job ended, and 2 were transferred. These are, I can't explain why we're having problems with it, but as you can see, as soon as we're putting people in, they're leaving.
Let's go back to the meter readers. Let's look at their pay. let's look at their working conditions. Do we feel that we're paying them enough? What, are they adequately, do they have all the supplies they need? It has to be something wrong.
Now that I'm gonna have to, I don't know. You would have to have an investigation or someone do a detailed report and actually get with them. I would recommend that when they're terminating, possibly we would do some type of exit interview with these employees so that we could better determine what their reason for leaving is.
Okay, we can continue on with your report, but Mr. Marshall,
Got
then
one
Mr.
question.
Lawson.
Yes, sir.
Do we still have a prohibition on hiring convicted felons?
No, sir, we don't. We are looking at them. We're giving them the same consideration, equal consideration with others. We have hired some that have records, but we also look at, we do a reference check and a driver's license check, which gives us their criminal history. We also do a reference check with their former employers. If we get a bad mix on one of those, or if they're going into a position that their offense could lend to a problem, we don't hire them in that position. But yes, sir, we do look at them.
Okay, reason why I was asking that, because of the fact that the probation department, the federal probation department had a job fair at the Bolton Community Center last week. And they had a slew of people looking for work.
I had two people there, and they were passing out applications. They could give you an update if you'd like to hear it, but they were there. They passed out several applications. They were also helping them. They were referring them to other companies that could use their services as well.
Mr. Lawson.
They became a referral service.
Yes, kind of lost as to why we don't do exit interviews. It's almost unheard of not to do exit interviews in 2007.
We have an exit interview in place. A lot of times the applicants don't complete it because they're afraid of the repercussions that might come if they want to re-enter. But I feel that, and we have not had adequate staffing in the past to do this, but I feel that with adequate staffing, they should have a person who they would come in, turn in their supplies, have a confidential report done, and then that would be placed not in their folder, but perhaps in another area so that it could be utilized in finding out what our turnover problems are.
And I think it's helpful, because if you look at it, it's more beneficial, I think, to the division directors and supervisors and administration it would be to the council. We are interested from the aspect of it being a budgetary issue and that you're spending a lot of money training people, but from an administrative point, you certainly would like to know if you have 9 out of the 10 employees saying that it's a supervisory problem.
Yes, sir.
So those type things I think would be helpful. I'd like to see if there's something we can do budgetarily to help make sure that every employee, because I know that this area of civil service and personnel hadn't been one of the areas that have been overly funded throughout the years, but that's certainly something that we need to look at doing, and actually as a prerequisite maybe, if you all feel it appropriate to employment, that they be willing to consent to an exit interview.
I mean, I think that's something that would fall under human resources. We've just not had adequate staffing to do that, but I think that with proper staffing, it could be done in HR.
And before Mr. Silver, Mr. Marshall speak again, and that was my next question, where do we stand? Because we've been going through this transition for the last few years, even coming out of the courts. What will it take to put us where we need to be in our city, so far as hiring, so far as the transition between human resources and civil service? Because do we need to add more personnel? Is there a big budget item, something we need to look at coming from the administration? But where are we right now to move forward?
Well, let me respond to that. First, Mr. Johnson, let me respond to the advertising time that Mr. Rogers alluded to. It is a matter of consideration in our memorandum of understanding that we agreed that we would change the advertising from 7 days to 15 days. If we're doing something other than that, then we're not in compliance with the memorandum of understanding that we agreed to. We made that a specific point because it would cut down on the process time by 1 week.
Has that been followed?
I assume it had been followed. I know it's being followed on the inside.
when we get with the department and the division head, when we're advertising it outside, a lot of times we'll ask them, you know, do they have outside publications or magazines that they wish to post this job opening in, and they say yes. Knowing that 7 days, there's no way we can post it, get it into a publication, and meet their qualification, you know, their deadlines to get qualified applicants.
Mr. Silver, then Mr. Marshall.
And I have spoke with the administration on this a couple of times. I mean, we're just trying to do what we can to get qualified applicants.
In the past year and a half, we've discussed this, we've made some progress, but this is almost a carbon copy of what we experienced. I would suggest that you and the administration think of answers to remedy this thing, not mere conjecture, because it has to be addressed. If we have the capacity to fund these people, and we have these voids, it's sort of counterproductive. I think we can talk for an hour on this. I think we need answers of remedy. And I think if you need another week or two, let's get it lined up so we can take affirmative action on this thing, get this thing resolved. It's a terrible stumbling block.
Well, I have a report that I can pass out that gives you an idea. We actually have, at this time, each department, when they have a vacancy, has to complete a personnel requisition and send it to civil service for us to complete.
Is that presently in effect?
Yes, sir.
But it's apparently not producing it.
Well, we have, actually right now, we have 70 requisitions in the civil service department, and they're at various stages. And I'm going to just give you a copy of what I'm talking about. But right now, we only have 4 that are not in some stage of recruitment. I've just recently acquired another, in the May 1st budget, the administration gave me another person to help with the recruitment, which will now give us 2 on the recruiting end. And she's currently trying to transition. As of today, she fully came over to us. She was trying to train she was transferred from human resources to civil service. She's training the current personnel analyst special assigned to the position, and with that we will have 2 people with the recruitment process.
How long a window will it take with this being done to satisfy the voids? I'm just trying, we've got some of the things, we're still back here, not over here.
Well, a lot of the things that are causing the voids are really beyond our control at this time. I mean, we're trying, and I can show you a sheet that provides the detail. I give this to the administration every other week. I give it to the commission monthly. I'll be glad to give you a copy when I'm through with this meeting.
Maybe I'll rephrase it. Is there a remedy that we have not yet addressed that could fulfill the void that we're experiencing?
We're trying, but right now, it's just a matter of getting qualified applicants. It's a matter of getting drug test results and
Do you have the same answer?
Yes, I made a recommendation several months ago on how we might look at that problem. You know, I firmly believe that if you continue doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same results. If you want different results, you have to do something different. So my recommendation was that we do a mass advertising for all positions, accept applications for all positions in an effort to fill the pipeline with pre-qualified applicants. And again, looking at the positions that we have decided that are critical, those are the ones that we require filling those positions more frequently than others. We will classify those as critical. So fill the pipeline with pre-qualified applicants, so when these departments call on us to fill these positions, we can go to that pipeline of pre-qualified folks and put them to work a lot faster, as opposed to trying to keep up with the demand when we don't have enough applicants in the pipeline.
Let me say this.
May I respond to
Okay.
that, please? It's easy for someone to sit here and say, let's do a pool of applicants. We do currently have a pool of applicants. Meter readers was a good example. We have meter readers that when they advertised, they had several. We interviewed 15 or 20 applicants for that. We hired 3. We have a pool. It is very difficult to get a pool of applicants when they're not responding to the advertisements. You can see that. When they do respond, we do interview them, we do rate them, they go on a list and they stay for 6 months. With the new position, as I spoke to the administration about, my goal is when we are totally separated from civil service personnel, we're away from human resources, we are totally civil service. I would like to have a job fair twice a year and try to get people in place. I cannot do that with my staff currently performing backup for the human resource.
Now, Mr. Ross, not to interrupt you there, but that's been the overall concern of staffing. When we started going through this process a year ago, we talked about staffing.
Yes.
Once the two areas were consolidated,
Yes.
what it would take to move human resources and civil service forward.
Yes, sir.
And we're still at this point. And what needs to come forth from this administration to this council, the things that we need to do to move forward. And I'm concerned about is that how our services being affected in the city of Alexandria by us not having enough personnel, meter readers, other areas, sanitation, public works.
And that is my concern as well.
And so we need to come up with some form of resolution to solve this problem.
And we are working through doing some new civil service rules.
Okay, Mr. Lawson, then we'll, I'm sorry, Mr. Marshall, go ahead.
Maybe you might want to start using the public access channels to maybe start advertising those positions that you need. People watch that daily. They watch it religiously almost. At the same time, do you advertise at Fort Polk, Barksdale Air Force Base, and different military installations? They have every career field that you would imagine that your city of Alexandria would need, with the exception of maybe meter readers. The people power production, they have them.
Well, we're using various media to get our advertisements out.
Because, like you have the retirees there that are retiring constantly. They're not looking for the X amount of dollars that you would maybe look for a college student coming out of college. That it's not that big of a pay difference. They might be trying to pick up the difference between the retirement check and the active duty check, the difference on that.
A lot of our problems right now also stem from our current job classifications and job descriptions. They're very restrictive. A lot of them were written back in '98. They were written by people that currently held the positions, and whatever qualifications they held, that's what they put. We're hoping that when this comes down, we get a better, we're able to open up the doors with a better job description, with more relaxed criteria for these applicants to meet, in hopes that our pool will be able to be broad.
My whole concept, the thing that I'm looking at is that outside of the Conference city limits of Alexandria, as we annex, we're going to require more sanitation workers.
Yes.
We're going to require more policemen, more firemen, more everything. So we need to, we need to figure out a way of speeding this process up. Because as we annex people into the city, they're going to require the same services.
Okay, with that said, we'll hear from Mr. Lawson, then, and David Crutchfield. We're going to wrap this committee meeting up.
Annexation is another conversation that we need to have on another date, maybe. But it's just incredulous to me that I've been on the council for 4.5 years. I'm hearing the same thing I heard at the very first meeting. And I'm not blaming anybody, because I don't know who to blame. But what I do know is that it can't continue the way it's continuing, because it seems as if it's relatively simple to solve, and I'm the novice that really I don't understand personnel and civil service. But what I do understand is appropriating the right amount of money to get your jobs done. I don't remember the administration, and I'm not talking about the current administration, ever coming to us and asking us for some assistance, and we didn't provide it. And I imagine that certainly the administration was responsive. Whatever it is, we don't need to be deficient in this area. Let's correct the problem. And because I don't want to hear any more excuses. It seems like that's what we keep hearing. and I don't want the excuse to be on us. You follow what I'm saying? Now,
Yes.
everybody has excuses. We have them up here. But I want to make sure that when we try to solve it won't be a money issue that we didn't appropriate the right funds to get it done firstly. It's my last question. And Louis, you tapped on what I was going to suggest with the public access channel. We've got to use technology to reach the markets that we're talking about reaching. Our website is woefully behind the times as to where we need to be. We're going to have to put some emphasis on that. And that's not, we didn't just get there, by the way. It's been kind of antiquated for some time. We ought to go out in the fields, as you suggested, to various colleges and recruit engineers if we're struggling. They're not going to necessarily come to us. Engineers and architects and planners, folk of that nature, are going to read about our offerings online, maybe via our website, and maybe even if they're passing through on the government access channel.
We do utilize the government access channel. We do utilize our website. We also use like monster.com. And there's a government page for government employees that we've been advertising on.
But then when we start passing the blame, I guess I'm saying as an end, I don't want it to be on the council from the fact that we didn't appropriate the right amount of money to allow you all to do the job that you've been asked to do. And I have one last question. You know what it is?
I know what it is, and I'm ready.
So how soon?
I did speak with him this morning, and he told me, and I haven't had a chance
Let me,
to
for the benefit of those that may not know, I'm asking about the
pay and class plan.
pay and class plan. That's right.
He received the last, as I told you, and I'm not trying to put the burden on anyone else, but we started trying to gather our information back in April. It was June before we were finally able to send the first package because it took us that long to get the information, which that delay fell upon us. Then we had some very critical positions that we did not receive things on, such as our engineering group. And that delay cost us to September, the last week of August, first week of September, we mailed him that package. He is currently working on getting this done with our benchmark positions, and your engineering group would be your benchmark, one of the benchmark positions.
Sure.
And with that, I was hoping for the end of September. He said it would be mid-October, and then he's going to come in and meet with the department heads after he's met with the administration on it.
Excuse me, Siraj, for the sake of time, I need to address one more person that we need to move on because the time is at hand. Mr. Crutchfield, we'll entertain a statement from you, then we'll move out of this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'll try to be brief, but I did want to say that the budget, we've been talking about the budget for personnel and human resources, and over the past couple of years, the mayors have recommended, and this council has approved, basically a doubling in the number of personnel, that the staffing for those departments over what was available before. So you're absolutely right that anything that's been brought here has been approved. So I don't think that's been an issue at all. But I heard a lot of talk also about additional funding, and I think that we have in my short time here, I've seen that we've had a bubble basically of unfilled jobs, and we seem to be able to fill as many as leave on a regular basis, but that bubble of unfilled jobs, sometimes it shrinks a little bit, sometimes it grows a little bit, but it's about the same. So I think if we could do something to get over that hump and get those jobs filled, then we could keep up with the regular recurring people leaving and refilling those positions. At least that's what the data seems to indicate, because that number of unfilled jobs stays pretty much the same. So talking with some of the other division directors, we just have a proposal that would I know it needs some refinement, but for the personnel and civil service departments to entertain, and it's similar to what Mr. Page said, which is let's advertise every job that we have open at one time, make those applications good for 18 months, and let's employ the whole staff of experts that we have at the city, the division directors, the department heads, the employees of the departments. Let's get those people involved and get past this one-time hurdle of getting all these jobs filled, and then maybe we can keep up with the normal, the people leaving and rehiring those.
Can I just say-
So that's
I had
just a
one word.
proposal.
The word I wrote down here was change. You just help, that's the magic word. Let's change, let's do something positive and get it resolved.
So that's just a proposal that some of us in the administration had come up with to civil service.
You saying decentralize the personnel, the hiring?
I'm just saying that we have a whole group of experts that can qualify people, review applications, do interviews, and those type things.
And we currently use those, Mr. Richfield.
I agree, and let's just do more of that. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that
We'll see on
we
that
all
sheet
are
that
available and would like to help.
One person speaks at a
Roosevelt
time.
has a gavel. Oh, yeah, okay.
And, that's all I have.
I'll let you put my hands on. Look, I'd like to thank everyone for your reports today, and I would like the administration, based on everything that was said today, would the month be timely enough to come back to kind of address some of the things that's been talked about today?
We'd like to come back and address it as the administration. I want to let the public know because there tends to be a blending at these meetings. Ms. Siraj represents civil service, an autonomous group that has a board that runs civil service. Mr. Page is an employee of the city who is the human resources director. He's an unclassified director under the mayor's office. Everyone, I know the council understands, but for the benefit of the public, they need to understand these are two separate things, and what they're seeing play out here is something this body has seen for 4 years or so, Myron. Time after time, there's an excuse or there's whatever. We need to just call it what it is about why it's not working. What Mr. Crutchfield just outlined very briefly, Mr. Johnson, is we had a retreat recently, a whole Saturday we took out to talk about these issues. We think there are ways that the division heads could help civil service. Civil service meaning personnel, not the cities, but the commissions folks. And Ms. Siraj is the director for the commission. We need to get together and figure out a way to have the people best qualified to know what we need and who we need to help. The problem that the public has to understand is there's this division in civil service that's existed. Y'all, we had a court case go through, right, before I came on.
Correct.
That went through, separated the two. They had been merged under just one, just Ms. Siraj. They were separated. But in this memorandum of understanding, and indeed, gentlemen, in the legislation, there are still duties that are with one or the other that does not make sense still to this day. And it could require further legislation. That's not an excuse. It's we are posing here publicly to the commission that we do sit down and allow. Let's move this bubble, as David called it. And that's what's happening. We're chasing a bubble. For every one loss, we gain that position. The bubble never changes. I don't know if y'all looked at the information you got. Look how many people are outstanding right now. Look what percentage that is of our total employment complement. Roosevelt, you asked the pertinent question. What does that mean if we have another meter reader problem? What does it mean if we had an operational issue? It means something terrible. That's what it means, and we have to get past this, and that's why I rose to tell you this. We do have some ideas, but there has to be a different look at it. People have to give up turf wars, and they have to say, look, we're willing to resolve this one-time deal, and it may cause a little bit of mixing of whose turf this really is, and that's really been a lot of the problem. It's something I noted when I ran for office, and this is the most vocal I've been about it, except for maybe one other meeting early on, Roosevelt, if you recall that. But there is a problem. I know what's going to happen. Civil service will say the division head shouldn't have the right to determine that. That's civil service's turf, or it's their decision. And I understand that. And by the way, they're there to protect against a spoil system. They have a role. They're there to make sure that the administration can't come in and terminate people and pick their own folks. So it's very important that that nature be protected. And I know Ms. Siraj is concerned about that. It has to be. But if we could come together and be a little bit outside of the box one time, a tiny bit unorthodox, and address this one issue by agreement, all agree, we'll go down to the commission, we'll talk about it, we could solve a problem. We are chasing a bubble, gentlemen. You're going to continue to ask this question, Lewis, every meeting unless we do something different. So I would urge you to urge the commissioners and everybody that we all try to do this once and for all and diminish this bubble. Let's pop it. And then we can keep doing a better job from there. And I know that we'll all try. And I know that Mr. Raj is committed. I know that Mr. Page is committed.
Okay, for the sake of time, I know Mr. Fred had a question, but we're going, it's 4 o'clock. We're going into Mr. Public Works and Zoning. So we're about 30 minutes over.
No,
That's enough. Okay.
I move you adjourn.
Need to adjourn. That's enough.
We're right back into session, so don't move. We're going right into Public Works. Those on the committee are Mr. Fowler, Mr. Marshall, myself, and those others who are up here. I don't need this, just sit down and be quiet. Okay, want to come forward, Mr. Branch and,
I'm tired of listening to it. Just excuse. With no results, period.
Marcus, what do you want to handle first?
Technical amendment to the ordinance.
You want to do the ordinance first? Where's that ordinance?
Number one, so
Okay, this is first, this is ordinance number 28 in our book. There was an error, I think, in the recipient, and I think you'll address that.
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we were under the advisement that the Rapides Parish Police Jury will be the recipient of the grant, and actually it's the Rapides Parish Sewer District number 1. So we just need to make a technical change to that ordinance, and this is what this item number's for.
I'll make a motion to make that change.
Lewis? Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay.
That's right, Joe.
Next one. This is 29 in the agenda, but this is in the reference to the changing the plan development deal. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is for the Yorktown subdivision, and it's to provide a mixed-use subdivision, aid the developer in providing multifamily mixed with retail use. It's advantageous for the developer and the city. Is there any particular questions anyone has concerning this item?
This is just to complete the project, and there's just that modification. Am I not correct? Are any questions, members of the committee? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Well, we're going down to number 4, and I think I would like to ask Melinda Anderson, Mr. Smith, to come up here just to highlight that we've done a lot of deliberating on this. Just listen for a moment, and I think you'll get a clear-cut answer what course we'll pursue. Go ahead.
Well, we're asking for a delay in this resolution to allow our commission an opportunity to present to the Bolton Avenue Community Center Neighborhood Association a plan for the redevelopment of Bolton Avenue. So we hope to address this at a later city council meeting.
Any of you have any questions or any question about that? What we're doing, this has been delayed and kicked around to a couple of committees. We want to get resolution. They've asked for this much time, after which I think we'll resolve it at the next meeting. All right?
Yes.
Sir.
I think the next neighborhood meeting is after our next council meeting.
Maybe you can have a special meeting.
Well, the neighborhood group has a meeting on the 27th. And
Went
we
this
got-
long, will that be all right then?
Yes, it's fine. We expect to be at that neighborhood meeting
Well,
on the
we'll do the
27th.
27th, be there immediately thereafter. How is that?
Delay it 4 weeks.
All right, 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
All right, all those in favor? Okay. Finally,
We have a fast-track report, and Mr. Duck was going to bring you up to date on this.
please.
Okay, before you have a Operation Fast Track report dated September the 11th, 2007. First and foremost, Versailles Boulevard, we have the deep sewer project phase 1 is now in advertising phase, and will receive bids October the 9th. And one additional thing that I didn't actually put on the list was that we now have a purchase agreement for the land for the mitigation of the wetlands that will be disturbed for this project, and we've actually got a contract roughed out between the city and the mitigation bank.
I actually have the fact sheet that I'd like to introduce, or request the council to introduce, authorizing the mayor to enter into agreement with Louisiana Wetlands LLC to purchase, it's 4.5 acres, of wetlands for mitigation. It's at the cost of $27,000, and this is so that we can proceed with the sewer improvements for Versailles 1 and 2.
I'll move for introduction.
All right. Need a second on that? Okay, any further
Send it back
discussion?
to Public Works.
Where is it?
It's along the corridor, Flynn, around the Flynn section.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the actual diversion canal area.
close to the diversion canal.
Any other questions?
It's mitigation, you buy mitigated property that's dedicated to wetland use for in perpetuity.
That's correct.
Or we refer that to the general counsel?
Yes.
Okay. Keep going.
The next major item that I have marked here on my sheet is Hyman Lane Phase 1, 28 West Castle reconstruction. Most of the drainage pipe and structures are being installed or have been installed. Street paving has started, and the project construction is approximately 65% complete. So the project is moving well, and we should have a finished product before too many months. The next major item I'd like to bring your attention is number 8 on the next page, recreational park improvements. Have a little bit of update. Darren Green, our urban forester, is in the process of doing evaluation of deficiencies and of all the parks and playgrounds and things. I'm sure that'll be put to good use when we hire consultants in what we actually are trying to do to our parks. The next one is Lincoln Road, number 9.
Going back to our parks.
Sure.
If you will, who's there? Will we be in a position by the end of school year 08 to have our parks ready for our youth?
I don't know that I could say that.
It'll depend on the study, Myron. I really don't know. As we get further along, Mr. Green may be able to give you a little bit better information on that than we could.
I really,
Him and Mrs. Lawson.
I really would like to see us fast track that, because that's one of the things. I know we started some things with the spray park.
The spray pads will be ready for the beginning of the summer. Administration has identified some sites. The consultant, I spoke with him about 2 or 3 days ago. He's actually going to come down to Alexandria. He's in Dallas, and he's going to work with us on making sure those sites that we have identified and talking with the neighborhoods and council members as well as to make sure that the sites that we have identified are actually going to be environmentally safe, the space, because we need to make sure we're talking about a flagship. We need to make sure we have enough acreage for that. And in the process of putting in these spray pads, we will look at, and we're meeting tomorrow with Darren on that analysis that he's done. We will look at improving the parks. And the zoo has also submitted a request for some improvements there as well.
I'd just rather us give something for young people to do and have them find something to do.
Perhaps we could put that on what we call a super fast.
That's right.
Well, the consultant understands. I told him specifically that we have to have these up and ready for the summer, and he knows that. He feels comfortable with giving enough time to come in and talk with the community as to identifying their needs, that we'll have them up and ready for the beginning of the
Will
summer.
we try to do all the parks at one time, or we're going to try to...
Make sure the flagship is in place, and then we'll get with you guys, Charles, and y'all can decide which one you want next, and we'll go from there. But we do want to make sure that the flagship gets done.
City Park?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, on number 9, Lincoln Road, the preliminary plans have been reviewed and approved, and the consultant is moving on with the final plans for the project. The next item is item number 13, the McAdams Ditch project. The contract, we already met with the contractor, and pre-construction conference and everything. And the original project was set up to do 200 feet of box culvert from MacArthur Drive into the neighborhood, to get the first 200 feet covered up completely, and then we were going to go to a vertical line channel. The contractor has actually come to us, I think it was yesterday, and said that he would like to build the whole thing as a box culvert at no additional pay. So we're evaluating that in our office now, how that would be, and if it truly is a no-cost addition or no-cost change order.
Jane, what part of that goes?
From MacArthur Drive, Service Road, to the part that's vertical line right now behind Castle Village and Briarwood. That section right there.
Yeah, it looks terrible there, and be a welcome project, whether it's done originally the way it was.
You're not gonna charge you anything extra?
No, he said he'd do it
No cost.
at no cost. And we tried 2 or 3 ways, we did it vertical channel all the way and box culvert all the way, and estimated it was going to be, seemed to be a lot higher with the box culvert, so we went with 200 feet of box culvert just to get the frontage cleaned up. But I think he's realized that he can put the box in as cheap as actually building the concrete vertical channel.
He feels it's labor saving.
Labor saving.
Worth it to him.
So we're certainly considering that. Moving on, number 15, the contracts have been completed on this. You might remember this was a project that we took the money from the road project and the drainage project, we put it all together. And we had to renegotiate the contract with the consultant on this, and we're ready to move forward on that. Number 16, Hudson Boulevard. I just met with the consultant on that. The preliminary design has been reviewed and approved, and he's moving on to final design. Number 18, Elizabeth Street. We've just gotten a work order for this project, and we'll be signing that and trying to move forward with that.
It's going to be done on the projects
ABC.
A and B.
Or A and B, yes. Next one of significance is number 22, the extension of Cloverleaf Boulevard. The construction on the project site is moving along, but of the building and the parking lot. And the actual road contractor hasn't been really able to do anything yet because the other contractors all over the site. But that's getting to be where he can actually move in now and start the actual road construction. Number 23, the Bayou Roberts at Landmark Phase 5. The contractor has moved into the site and started clearing the right-of-way of brush, debris, and he'll be beginning to dig the ditch in the very near future. The next one of significance is number 25, Acadian Park drainage. The work is about 95% complete, so that'll be a project that'll be finished and we can color it green shortly. Number 26, Wooddale drainage improvements, phase 1 and 2. I'd just like to bring your attention to the fact that we're still at 70% on phase 1. The contractor pulled off due to rain and other reasons, and phase 2 it continued, and so they're at about 95%. But the contractor for phase 1 is supposed to move back in next week, so hopefully that can move back in and finish it very soon. Next one is 29, McDonald Street drainage improvements, phase 3. Plan in hand has been done and the project is advertised for bids, or will be advertised. Will be tonight. Next one is number 30, Enterprise Road drainage. The preliminary design has been submitted. We reviewed it. We're evaluating the design now and see if we need to change it or not. Number 33.
Can I ask a question on that?
Certainly.
Approximately how long that's going to take?
The design process or the construction?
As I'm getting kind of antsy. I was over that Saturday for a church dedication, and I don't like the idea of children and pedestrians dodging buses and trucks as the road slides off into the ditch.
Right,
That ain't a pretty sight.
right.
And I'm kind of antsy on that one. I don't want that something to happen to somebody, and it's because I didn't say anything about it.
Well, I understand. The project is, like I say, is moving fine. The consultant went in, did the survey, provided the program completion. He's provided the preliminary plans, and right now he's actually shown a asphalt street. We wanted to look at the possibility of concrete versus asphalt and do a little evaluation there, and that's why we just haven't moved on it yet. But
We're going to be able to do something with that curve?
Yes, we are going to try to straighten that out some.
Good, good.
Try to make it a little less dangerous.
Oh, yes.
Moving on, number 33, the St. Andrews fence around the golf course. The contractor has told us he'd be here September 17th to begin the work. Number 34, the Good Earth drainage, lots 144 to 149. The project is now complete. Number 38, Bayou Henson drainage, flat gate. Bids were received August the 28th, and we're awarding the contract, or asking the council to award the contract today. Number 41, Horseshoe Drive, Grove to MacArthur Drive. I've sat down with the consultant, and we have worked out the contract agreement, and he's finalizing the paperwork, and will send it back to us, and we'll get a signed contract, and he can go to work.
Looking at the colors, can we, in your opinion, start resuming the word fast track as opposed to what we've been doing recently?
I think it's moving very well, Mr. Chairman, yes.
I think that's good. Is there anything else? I'm trying to get some of the time back. Would you want to add?
I would like to request introduction of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Red River, Chapel Levy Board and Rapides Parish Police Jury concerning the certification of our Bayou Phillips and Bayou Rapid levies, yes.
Move.
Second.
Is there any qualification as far as expense or anything else?
No monetary commitments in this. We will come back with those.
Send it back to Public Works, too.
Could we get a report back on the ditch closure project?
What you want to know?
On the ditch closure project?
Yes, they're working, the next one, they're fixing to start on Hollywood. They'll do Hollywood, and then from there, they'll move to Linda Road. So they're steady, keeping up with that.
Maybe next council meeting, sort of like this, sort of this. Once that was done, and I had
Sure.
you and I.
Sure.
That'll be the next meeting thereafter.
I'd like to also find out what we're gonna do with Henson Bayou from Bayou Rapides, from Monroe Street down to roughly the beginning of Petrus Heights. We all right on that thing?
He's joking, because that's my house, and half of us want, we have wood ducks, and we don't want any work done.
We don't wanna mess up the wood ducks, but.
Anything else before this meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I got an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with professional services with Christopher W. Williams, and I'd like to send it to legal.
All right. Anyone have any objection? So be it.
Mr. Chairman, I also have two fact sheets. If we could introduce these.
We don't need a second for that, do we?
Introduction, just a motion.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, the first one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Rapides Parish Communication District. We would request introduction.
I'll move and send it back to Public Works.
Second.
And the second one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with the Rapides Parish Police Jury for the use of tower space by the Alexandria Police Department.
Second, send it back to Public Works.
All right. I'm backing up 1 minute, Mayor. The one that we just approved, of that we're going back to Public Works concerning your first, what is that concerning? Is that for the public, Channel 4?
No, sir, Mr. Silva. The Communications District has radio technology which can assist the police department in their work, and we need to do an intergovernmental agreement to be able to allow that to happen.
Anything else become for Public Works? If not, we'll give you back part of your time. This part, this is adjourned. We defer to you.
Legal. We call the legal committee to order. President Smith, Johnson, Mr. Lawson.
Certainly.
And the rest of the council. All right. First item, consider final adoption order amending Article 3, Section 10-35 through Section 10-4, Alexandria Code pertaining to small emerging business development program, book item number 30.
Mr. Smith, this item, when you read the title later, I guess it'll be long. These are quite extensive amendments to the Small and Emerging Business Development Program. I want to introduce the folks working on that. Ms. Vaughn Jennings, who is Workforce Development and Small Business Retention, Mr. Trey Gist, who has also been working on it. Vaughn and I have gone through the existing ordinance that Mr. Page was part of years ago when he was a member of the council, and putting into effect, and we've gone through and tried to update it. Mr. Smith, there have been several major Supreme Court decisions that have come out in or around about 10 years ago. Adirondack versus Pena was one of the decisions in '95, and another one was called J.A. Croson. Those decisions hampered the ability to do a lot of race-conscious legislation that occurs in contracting and so forth. So I'm going to be real quick. I know that we're pressed for time, but I wanted y'all to give us a minute to go through it. This is a landmark thing that we're doing. It's extremely important to this city, considering everything about our composition and who we are in Central Louisiana. And so I hope you would bear with us a moment to really take a look at this. You should have gotten a draft in your books at this point, but I think that you'll be very proud of this, gentlemen, that it'll be something that all of you can get behind. Obviously, there will be things to work through as we go. It gets technical, and people are going to have thoughts about it one way or another. Some are going to be strong, some not so strong, but we think that there's going to be a time for town hall meetings to explain aspects of it. We think that there is going to be time for us to have multiple hearings as to different parts. I believe that Mr. Gist will talk in a moment about what we need to do. I think tonight we would ask that you not pass it out in final order because it's not in final order, but we do believe we need to start discussing it tonight in committee and not wait for another meeting because it's so expansive. You have already passed a resolution authorizing Ms. Jennings and I to do the work that we've been doing. You did that some time back. If you look at your ordinance draft in front of you under Section 1035, you'll see a statement, legislative findings of fact. Those will be your own findings of fact when we get through with this. I'm not going to go through them. They're extensive and lengthy. There's numbers 1 through 14. I would address your attention to 9, 10, 11, and 13, and just so the people can understand what we're talking about. There are racial and gender disparities that should, whenever practicable or possible, be based on comparisons when you look at entry-level positions. So when you're looking at those positions that require a minimal amount of expertise or training, then you should compare where we are as a city in terms of the job force with the total population. So you get sort of a fraction of where we are women-wise and other minority-wise versus the total population. But gentlemen, if you look at number 10, you should look at that from a racial and gender disparity standpoint differently when you're comparing those jobs with special qualifications. And just to make it real simple, if you have the city of Alexandria, it's a different question to look at those things without a lot of expertise, and you want to see where we are as a city, Myron, across the board. When you talk about attorneys, unfortunately, here and other places in the country, you're not going to get the same comparison because there may be a lack of women or minority attorneys. So you look at different fractions. And even if we all disagreed or thought differently about it, the court, for better or for worse, has provided a lot of instruction. And one thing I want to make clear to all of you, we're going to be introducing a whole lot of things that are going to happen fast. This is not going to be something on the slow track, Mr. Silver. But we are required, we believe, and I think Trey shares the opinion, we believe we are required at this point to have a disparity study. I see Mr. Lawson already said it now with the current case law. I think Ms. Jennings absolutely agrees. Some of our friends out there, they want us to institute it and get moving and deal with that later. The problem is these things likely do get challenged, Mr. Smith. So if you look at number 10, when you have comparisons that address those with special qualifications, you should address the relevant statistical pool for purposes of demonstrating the exclusion of ready, willing, and able minorities or women. Remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about determining the extent to which people who are ready, willing, and able to perform a job are not allowed to for whatever reasons, Mr. Fowler. And so those are things that we have to consider. You look at the number of minorities or women qualified to undertake the particular task, and then you divide that, your denominator here is going to be the general population, not of the whole populace, Myron, like we talked about for the first one, but in this case, of the populace of people who can do and are qualified to do that job as a whole. You see, so it's a different fraction when you talk about those that require some degree of expertise. You wouldn't divide as the numerator the number of ready, willing, and able minority attorneys by the total population of Alexandria, because that wouldn't give you a valid statistic about those with special services. And if y'all flip forward a little.
Mayor,
yes, sir.
If you go back to number 11.
Yes.
In parentheses, including race conscious as a non-predominant factor.
That's a good, let me go through that, Mr. Johnson. It's a good point. I had that to highlight with you, and I was going to skip by it, but I'm going to read the whole thing. The city shall determine the number of qualified minority businesses and potential job holders within the limited jurisdiction using reliable, generally accepted disparity and identification testing prior to the city requiring race-conscious goals, but that aspirational goals, and in parentheses it says, including race-conscious as a predominant factor, close parenthesis, and race-neutral means, shall be developed with this ordinance. What that means is, before you ever could require race-conscious goals that are a condition precedent, in other words, for the business to do it, the city would enforce that. Before you can do that, we have to have the disparity study. You have to prove what your stats are. So what we did to avoid waiting for the study, because that would be the problem. If we had to wait for the study, we'd never get started on this program that we all think is necessary. What we've done is said, for purposes of now, we're going to do non-race conscious or race neutral requirements now, and we're going to do race conscious requirements, but they're only aspirational. In other words, that is our job to go out and talk to the folks in this city about how they can buy into this and what it'll do for them. It will be all of your job and ours as the administration to go to those contractors and everyone else and talk about a means to implement this, and that's all in here too, that we can start doing now. Again, are there going to be some people who, regardless of why, are going to say, no, we're not doing it. If I'm the lowest qualified bidder, it's me? Yes. And what can we do about that now? Right now, without a disparity study, you probably, and I'll ask Vaughn and Trey to speak to it too, you probably could do nothing about it legally. They could be challenged and we could lose. But it shouldn't stop us from starting that now. After a disparity study, once you have the things in place, then you can start making different requirements. And that's what paragraph 11 means. Right now, we will ensure that no one is discriminated against either way. But we do believe that this council, with what was on the books before and with this new ordinance and with the resolution that you've already given us, should be should allow us as the administration to go out and start instituting a program that will have profound effects on this city. If you go to number 13, it addresses the type of disparity study to look at. The city shall determine in its disparity and identification testing the barriers which may have an adverse impact upon small disadvantaged business. And I want to tell all of you, it's not just about minorities, meaning race-based or women. It's not limited to that. The purpose of this is a small and emerging business statute, so it's not about that at all. I was privileged to open a women-owned business this weekend, and we want to encourage people. Vaughn wants to be able to train and help people who come to the city learn how to partner with a minority or learn how to partner with a woman and go out and open a business so that they get tons of different things from the federal government to the state government to this.
And there's some incentives, and I think you alluded to, I think it's LaFontaine and Murray on the state level. The protege versus, okay, good.
That's not included yet because it's new, but Trey is going to be working on that with their staff. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
I know we're going to get into a discussion. What I would like to see, I don't know if we can do it. I was looking at my calendar, maybe like 17 or 18, you know, maybe at 12 o'clock.
Yes.
And invite ladies or whoever want to have participation. We can get sandwiches and points or something and have where they can come in and sit down and really have input and listen at this whole program. If they want, if you could put out some kind of little pamphlet, let them look at this, and then we can discuss these issues.
Yes.
And I mean, it's just a suggestion for me.
That's a good suggestion,
you know,
Mr. Smith.
I mean, where we can get everybody, you know, all the ladies, and we talk about,
And the mayor
and it would be like any lady that's working at the lunch period, you know, could come in and sit down and listen.
That was one of the reasons the mayor mentioned that he did want to delay it, because he said this is big enough to have a town hall meeting, invite people who want to do business with the city, and it's the emerging business, the small business, the business that's been in here only 4 or 5 years, or it's just starting up. And you definitely want to include those people early.
That's what I'm saying. If we could set up the 17 or 18 or something, instead of coming here, I won't be here at the next council meeting, but I'm saying one of those dates like that, the 17 or 18 at lunchtime, Vaughn, if we can just get the message out, you know, have some sandwich, something, the ladies or whoever want to come and listen at this program, and then give them like a lunch hour, and then we can go start right in.
We'll do that, Mr. Smith, and what I'd like to do is invite all of you to come to those type of meetings where it won't violate the open meetings law, because you'll be there just to receive information.
We can open it up just as a legal.
That's right.
We'll open it up as a legal committee.
Or we can open a committee.
We'll open it up and then turn it over to you all, and, you know, with the pamphlet, and anybody, you know, that will want to come at that time, at lunchtime, and they'll be participate and listen.
Mr. Smith, if Ms. Jennings and I can make a few comments too.
Go ahead.
What this is primarily about, like the mayor mentioned, is empowering new and emerging businesses, people, to get involved with us doing business. To do that, we first want to approach it on what we call the race-neutral parameters that the courts have talked about. It's important, and it's in paragraph 12, the city shall promote programs and services to assist small and disadvantaged business concerns in the development and growth of their businesses, including through the incubators or other business growth mechanisms, both private and quasi-public, as the case may be. And I think those are things we can start doing immediately. What Ms. Jennings will be doing in the meantime is developing those procedures to ensure these equal opportunities that are addressed in the body. These are what they call race-neutral matters.
Well, what I'm saying, Trey, we can highlight some of these important factors in here, and let the print shop, whoever, make copies of this, and we can have, you know, ladies, whoever, men, or whoever want to come and listen. And we'll highlight, you know, what we're trying to do with disadvantaged business in that part.
That's correct.
And it might be, Vaughn, excuse me, Jen, it might be one out of the first presentation, but I would like to do it from the my legal I would like to schedule that, and that would give us some time. Yes, we can start at legal, start whatever time you want, 11:30, 11:45, or whatever. But I would just like to give a lot of people opportunity to come out and really listen at this presentation.
Just to make sure, with the resolution and with what we're doing tonight, I want to make sure that there's some directive and some resolution from the council, even if it's one paragraph. You've already given a resolution to do it, I think, but we want to go ahead and start the process for the disparity study. A disparity study in its simplest statement would be to determine if we have up-to-date facts for existing and future efforts to increase the use of minority and women-owned business. And if you look at, that's the last sentence on the definition section 1037 under disparity studies. There's a whole bunch of things to look at, but we need a baseline, Mr. Fowler. We have to see where we are as a city. We think that what we'd like for y'all to do, we're envisioning an RFQ process as opposed to an RFP process first. We need to see who's out there available. Gentlemen, I hate to say it, but because of how you can get fleeced as a city with the wrong group coming in, you really have to be careful. But I'll let Vaughn speak to that. She's got the expertise.
Where we are basically is between race-neutral strategies and race-conscious strategies. And as the mayor mentioned, the disparity study is going to allow us to implement race-conscious strategies at a later time. In the meantime, we'll be introducing race-neutral strategies to our procurement process that you all are probably familiar with because they are similar to the federal Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program. We'll have an affidavit system where we take affidavits from individuals that are interested in doing business with the city, and we're going to track our procurement process, how often these people are allowed to participate in the process, how often contracting opportunities are available for the number of ready, able, and available business that we have in our community. And as the mayor mentioned, to the formula, there's a formula that you use to determine your race-neutral goal or your race-conscious goal. We won't just pull a number, out of our pockets or out of the sky. It'll be based on what our community looks like so that it is a fair program to all parties that are involved. As he also mentioned, it'll include us doing outreach into the community, making sure, as Councilman Lawson mentioned earlier, that we take advantage of our website and our government access station and the local media to make sure that the citizens are aware of contracting opportunities that are available with the city. I'm sure you all have encountered situations where your constituents tell you that they're never informed or they don't know when the contracting opportunities are available. They don't know when we purchase supplies. We tell them that we purchase a lot, but we don't actually see when or how those purchasing occurs. So we're going to go out into the community and do some outreach and education about our procurement process and track that and measure it to see what results we get from using race neutral. And then we'll be able to take that evidence along with the disparity study, which is going to look historically at what has happened over the last 5 or 10 years of who we contract with, who's available, who we haven't contract with, and we'll be able to determine what race-conscious measures we should use.
And what people can do to be better able to contract with us. That's something that people overlook. We also want to stress to you that we are wide open, and I don't want anybody to think because we've been huddled up sort of working on this to get it together, we want participation from folks. We are not excluding anyone. We want to make sure that everybody understands, and I want us to say this publicly, CAP, we are very interested in working with CAP. CAP is doing a lot of things. You've seen a lot of editorials lately. George Robertson over there and Rick Ranson, one of your former colleagues, they're over there focusing on workforce development. Everyone talks about economic development, but the whole world of that knows now that until you really address workforce issues, it's hard to get to the other ones. And so we're real open to that. I know they want to work with us. They're expressing it, and they're going to be part of this process too.
Let me say one more thing to make it clear. I know a lot of these programs can become confusing. The Disadvantaged Business Enterprise program that we also participate in is because of our federal dollars, and the federal government reserves certain rights for themselves. Well, after the landmark cases that the mayor mentioned, the city of Richmond versus J.A. Croson, the courts decided that for a municipality to do a race-conscious program, you have to use strict scrutiny, meaning you got to truly prove that there's a reason why you need to have a race-conscious program in addition to your race-neutral program. And you prove that by doing a disparity study. And that's basically where the program left off in 1988. We did the ordinance, the program was there, but then the courts came with this decision, and a disparity study should have followed.
And Mr. Smith, responding to a point Mr. Lawson brought up, Ms. Carol Lexing, the attorney from Monroe, and I have been working on a new tax credit that the legislature just passed 30 days ago that will allow a significant tax credit for both mentoring companies and young emerging companies that are considered proteges. These are potential credits that may benefit companies, even small companies, by as much as $50,000 apiece. We certainly want to be on that train as soon as we can, because I think the council would like to very much get involved with the state agency. I think it's the Department of Economic Development, to see if we can enter into some type of agreements so that those companies that are qualifying on a state level can take advantage of our programs, and so that our local people can also take advantage to get these important tax credits. These tax credits, gentlemen, can be carried over for 21 years. And that's a huge benefit to both the larger companies that want to work with small companies, but to the small companies that are getting started, to be able to have a tax credit could completely eliminate their obligation on franchise taxes, for instance, which we all have to pay with our businesses. And it could give those people that are starting businesses tremendous incentives to work with Ms. Jennings and those other representatives of the city and people like our business incubator to work on developing these programs and getting our local people qualified.
Well, Trey, I know one time, maybe we can start back working on, we tried to use, like with our housing, under Brenda Ray, revitalization of those houses, 18,000. We tried to make contact with the bank, and we worked in a lot of people that have business but don't have the bonding capacity to where they could set.
I got something to tell you, Mr. Smith, you're going to be excited. Trey was just talking about a new one we haven't included. Vaughn and I have already included under Section 1038, number 1, Bonding Assistance Program. And Mr. Smith, you were touching on it too, under 1038-2, a financial intermediary program. We're going to be working with a good friend of all of ours on that, who has come out of retirement to go back into banking. He's working with Brian Salazar. In fact, he's gone over to Red River Bank. Mr. Willie Spears, just a top-notch person who is going to be helping me with the financial intermediary aspect. But we are addressing both of those concerns. And then finally, I wanted to tell you, one of the concerns I know that somebody watching might say is, well, what is this going to do? Are we just going to now allow outsiders to come in, even if we all believe in this goal of promoting, recognizing race and recognizing women and making sure that we're bringing everybody up? What does it do to local folks? If you look, Ms. Jennings and I addressed that early on. She was the first person to say, we really have to think about it. Look in the definitions under significant local presence, and you'll see what that's defined as, to make sure that even if we're attracting a new business from outside, they've got to create something here and keep some kind of presence here, something, a satellite office, and there's a definition. And you'll also see that we addressed it in 1044 under limitations, if you go to that last section. And finally, I just want to point out this. The first thing we get asked is, so you're talking all this talk, how's it going to work? If you go into section 1038.3, it's missing 38.1 and 38.2. That's the flesh of the bonding assistance and the flesh of the financial intermediary. We may have to renumber it to add the program you just described. But if you go into 4, you'll see, and this is borrowed a lot from the old ordinance you had, but there's some new twists to it. You'll see A through F. Establish and maintain a directory to facilitate identification of those small businesses, minority and women-owned businesses, according to their capabilities. B, arrange solicitations with the reservation to better facilitate the participation of those businesses. C, implement informational programs, which Ms. Jennings just described, on opportunities and procedures. D, hold pre-bid and pre-proposal conferences. E, provide information and communications on contracting procedures, another thing Ms. Jennings was describing. And F, very importantly and new, conduct a citywide with regional application, because we think we think it's okay for Alexandria to spend money a little beyond Alexandria. You have to do that to determine what we have out here in what you might call a metropolitan statistical area or some other thing beyond just the city. A disparity study within 6 months of the time this is passed, and then thereafter to update as often as is needed, but in no event any more than every 5 years. You wouldn't want to probably do one, it wouldn't change enough, but I think that it's something that you may have to consider thinking about. All of this can be changed, by the way. This is a
Well, set it up on those 2 days, whatever that, 17 or 18.
Okay.
Like that with the lunch, and we whatever we need, whatever other people want to bring.
And so that people understand, this is not to preclude anyone from being involved with our business, it's to include more people.
Right.
And we have a lot of liberty, particularly on material purchases, where we up to go up to $20,000 under state law. And on professional services, there are no restrictions, and we can set parameters.
Okay, with that said, if we can go to section 1040 on business enterprise certification, if you can just touch on that briefly.
Which section, Roosevelt? 1040?
1040.
Which one?
On B and C, on the certification process.
I'll let Vaughn do it, but I think she went over part of it's the affidavit program. Why don't you hit on C?
Yeah, we're going to establish an affidavit program. We want to see the businesses that participate in this program register with the state of Louisiana, Small Emerging Business Development, and us. And so the first step would be for them to participate in that program, particularly if they are small or startup businesses, because they're going to be able to provide them with resources that they're going to need and ensure that they're prepared to handling contracting and procurement with the city of Alexandria. They'll then come to us and do a small affidavit where we'll just we'll certify that they are who they say they are, verify a profile of their business, and actually compile a directory that our departments and division heads can use when they're looking for individuals to purchase supplies from.
Get back with us on that date.
Okay.
And let's set that.
Thank you for giving us time.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna go into finance. Okay. Go ahead, while I'm waiting on Myron. Go ahead.
First one is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to adopt a new pay matrix for the Alexandria Fire Department.
A new what?
Pay matrix for the fire department.
Gonna send that to finance.
Okay. Next is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into